It's midnight and you're watching Nightline with me, Muhammed Hamdan. The top stories. Malaysia's finances stable despite higher debt. And Zionist regime pounds Gaza with fiercest airstrikes ever. Good morning. The country's finances are stable as of last year, despite the national debt, including liabilities, increasing to 1.39 trillion ringgit, as stated in the 2022 Auditor General's report. Auditor General Dr. Wan Suraya Wan Muhammad Razi said even though the debt has increased, revenue and the gross domestic product (GDP) have improved. According to the AG's report, debt increased by 94.1 billion ringgit last year, which is 7.2% more compared to what was recorded in 2021, while total liabilities were 319.5 billion ringgit, down by 5.6 billion ringgit or 1.7% from 2021's 325.2 billion ringgit. Wan Suraya also said that the accounting records of the financial statements of the federal government for the year ended December 31st, 2022 were adequately maintained and updated. Accordingly, the Auditor General certificates without reprimand with other matter paragraphs have been issued. She added that the federal government's total revenue in 2022 was at 294.3 billion ringgit, which showed an increase of 60.6 billion ringgit or 25.9% compared to the previous year at 233.7 billion ringgit. The final budget approved for operating expenditures was 236.9 billion ringgit, while the operating expenditures incurred was 292.6 billion ringgit. A surplus amount of 1.6 billion ringgit was transferred to the Development Fund, which made the actual operating expenditures amounted to 294.3 billion ringgit. Wan Suraya also said that the dividends from several state-owned companies, including Petronas, were also growing, which helped stabilize Malaysia's financial position. She pointed out that apart from improvements in Malaysia's oil and gas sector, tax collection had also grown, adding to the country's revenue. Meanwhile, the report also revealed that the federal government spent about 55.4 billion ringgit on various subsidies last year, an increase of 322.1% compared to 13.1 billion ringgit in 2021. The highest subsidy expenditures went to petroleum products, involving 81.5% of the total expenditure. The AG's report was presented in Parliament after receiving approval from the Yang di-Pertuan Agong on September 26. Malaysia has the potential to secure investments worth about 216 billion ringgit as a result of Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's overseas visits. He said this in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday when giving the details on the outcome of his overseas visits, including investments, bilateral cooperation and the level of foreign investment confidence in Malaysia.
Dalam pertemuan itu juga telah bersetuju untuk melabur dengan kerjasama Abu Dhabi Future Energy Company, PJSC, Masdar dan Maida berjumlah 40.6 bilion ringgit dan kapasiti gigawatt 10 gigawatt 37.8 bilion dan 2.1 bilion sektor logistik dan 709 juta sektor aero angkasa.
Anwar, who is also the finance minister, said his official visit to China in March generated a potential investment value of about 170 billion ringgit. His visit in New York last month also helped secure another 4.7 billion ringgit in potential investments for Malaysia. His most recent overseas visit was to the United Arab Emirates last week, where he announced that Malaysia had received investment commitments totaling 40.6 billion ringgit, involving sectors such as renewable energy, logistics and aerospace. In total, Anwar has undertaken 17 overseas visits since assuming office as Prime Minister in November last year. Meanwhile, Anwar told the Dewan Rakyat that the government will fast-track the implementation of the Pan-Borneo Highway project in Sabah, which is lagging behind as compared to Sarawak. He said he had asked Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadilah Yusof to monitor the construction of the project to ensure that there is no delay and to fulfill the promise made to the people of Sabah and Sarawak.
Saya beritahu Kementerian Kewangan malahkan setuju untuk fast track. Asalkan ada proses pre-queue, tender, maka kita lakukan fast track, terutama di kawasan Sabah. Saya tepat kerana Pan-Borneo ini dah 10 tahun ya, tertangguh dan peruntukan ada. Jadi oleh kerana kita ada janji kepada rakyat Sabah dan Sarawak, tidak ada alasan untuk kita lengahkan.
The construction of the Pan-Borneo Highway project in Sabah began in July 2016, involving 35 work packages stretching 706 kilometers from Sindumin to Tawau. It is scheduled to be fully completed in January 2025. Unlocking the potential of the 2024 budget. Strategic policies aimed at fostering growth and economic resilience. How will the Madani budget catalyze prosperity, fuel innovation and provide a solid foundation for businesses and Malaysians? For key highlights of the budget, join us with economist Afzalizam Abdul Rashid this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and live HD stream on Tonton. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has suggested that financial literacy modules be included in the National Service Training Programme PLKN 3.0 as early preparation for the younger generation to face future challenges. The Deputy Prime Minister said this could be achieved through collaboration between the Institute of Leadership, Excellence and Development (iLead) under the Youth and Sports Ministry and PLKN under the Defence Ministry.
Saya ingin menyarankan agar kursus khas dan modul khas di dalam PLKN 3.0 hendaklah memasukkan modul literasi kewangan ini bagi menghadapi cabaran yang mendatang. Jika ini tidak dibuat, maka dikhawatiri sebelum masuk ke pasaran guna tenaga sekalipun, maknanya sebagai workforce di dalam alam pekerjaan, mereka terlebih dahulu mempunyai daya keberhutangan yang tinggi dan ini sangat tidak sihat.
Zahid said this after officiating the closing ceremony of the National Youth Financial Literacy Convention 2023, organised by iLead at University Technology Mara Puncak Alam campus on Tuesday. He also said that besides PLKN, other educational institutions, including technical and vocational education and training (TVET) programs, public and private higher education institutions and colleges should also offer financial literacy courses. He added that these modules would help the younger generation become more financially literate, especially in managing their money and spending, such as through online shopping, as well as credit card and cashless transactions. Malaysia's 1C's National Service Programme aimed at promoting unity and discipline among youth is making a comeback. While some see its potential for societal integration, critics argue for a more ingrained approach to patriotism. FMT's Natasha Buse has the report.
National Service. For men in neighbouring Singapore, it is considered a rite of passage. The mandatory programme sees recruits serving 2 years in uniformed units. Malaysia also had a national service program known as PLKN. The 3-month program saw participants take part in activities including team-building sessions, camping and firearms training. This led to criticisms that the PLKN resembled a summer camp rather than a national service program. The costs of running the PLKN didn't help. The program, which ran for 14 years, cost 8.43 billion ringgit. Now, the PLKN will be given a reboot and one that will cost taxpayers a lot less money.
Lebih daripada 500 juta dibelanjakan. Tetapi untuk kita punya PLKN template baru 3.0 ini, kita tidak akan berbelanja melebihi 100 juta satu tahun.
For some, the PLKN's revival is good news.
kalau kita lihat dah tak ada aktiviti yang macam ni di sekolah ataupun di IPTA yang boleh kita build up berkaitan dengan character building ataupun semangat untuk kita cintakan kepada negara kita. Dengan adanya program-program yang macam ini yang sedikit army style, so dia boleh menguatkanlah kekuatan di segi fizikal dan juga mental.
Sani says that the camps were designed to challenge societal norms among youths.
Contohnya pergi sekolah, makan dekat kantin. So, diorang akan makan bersama-sama dengan kelompok diorang ataupun diorang punya kaum. Tapi dekat PLKN ni, kita akan reshufflekan diorang dalam semua aktiviti, termasuklah makan dan juga tempat tinggal. So, dekat sini, diorang boleh memahami dan belajar bagaimana untuk hidup sama dengan kaum-kaum yang lain.
But what do our youth have to say about this?
I mean, if it can contribute to the patriotism and the nationalism in Malaysia, I don't think there's a reason not to.
I guess it's alright because from my brother's experience, actually, he said it kind of helped him kind of gain certain skills like leadership skills and stuff. So I guess it will be good for some people. Yeah, I guess so. It will be nice to have back, I suppose.
I feel like it is kind of beneficial towards us because I don't think it cause any harm. It's just going to give us more exposure about our country.
Now, there's still a long way to go before PLKN is fully revived. Right now, a special committee is looking at how best to bring back PLKN before the matter is referred to the National Security Council for approval. Whatever the revamped PLKN looks like, one thing is for sure, it's an exciting time to be a young Malaysian. Natasha Bust, FMT News.
Authorities seized 180 tons of local white rice hidden in a rice mill in the state, worth an estimated 405,000 ringgit during Op Beras Putih Tempatan, Op BPT, in Kedah on Monday. Deputy Agriculture and Food Security Minister Datuk Chan Fung Hin revealed that this significant seizure was the first made under the special joint operation. Chan said an inspection at the mill revealed 180 metric tons of local super special 5% SST5 or local white rice BPT concealed in undisclosed storage inside jumbo containers. He added for now the mill's location or company name cannot be disclosed to prevent any interference with the ongoing probe. The case is currently being investigated under the Control of Paddy and Rice Act and the Paddy and Rice Control Regulations. Chan also said so far the Op BPT task force has conducted inspections on 8 rice wholesalers and 6 rice manufacturers in this state to detect any activities of hoarding rice, changing packaging and mixing local white rice with imported white rice. He also warned the relevant parties to comply with the established laws and emphasized that his ministry and task force members will take strict action against those found violating existing regulations. Malaysia continues to show its support for the struggles of the Palestinian people facing the relentless cruelty of the Zionist regime. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, in a show of solidarity and support for the Palestinians, also made a generous donation to the My Aqsa Defenders Fund. Anwar handed over the contribution to My Aqsa Defenders Supreme Council Chairman, who is also Cinta Gaza Malaysia Chief Executive Officer, Muhammad Nadir Al-Nuri Kamaruzaman, at the Parliament lobby on Tuesday. The fund is part of Malaysia's effort to assist the Palestinian people who are currently suffering due to the latest conflict between Israel and Hamas. Israel pounded the Gaza Strip with the fiercest airstrikes in the 75-year history of its conflict with the Palestinians on Tuesday, razing whole districts to dust. Gaza's health ministry said Israel's retaliatory strikes had killed at least 770 people and wounded more than 4,000 so far, as the airstrikes intensified on Tuesday. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Volker Turk said civilians had been harmed from strikes on tower blocks, schools and UN buildings across the Gaza Strip. The strikes had also killed 3 Gaza journalists while they were outside reporting, bringing the number of journalists killed to 6. At the morgue in Gaza's Khan Yunis hospital, bodies were laid on the ground on stretchers, while medics called for relatives to pick up the bodies quickly as there was no more space for the dead. Doctors Without Borders also expressed concern that their team in Gaza will soon run out of medical supplies, including surgical equipment, bandages, antibiotics and fuel, now that the enclave's borders have closed. Meanwhile, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on Tuesday has denied Tehran's involvement in the surprise assault launched on Israel, but has voiced the country's support for Hamas. In his first televised speech since the attack, Khamenei said irresponsible parties have been spreading rumors that Iran was behind the fightings and that they are wrong. He said the Zionist regime's own actions are to blame for this disaster and has urged for the whole Islamic world to support the Palestinians. In the meantime, European Union foreign ministers are expected to meet on Tuesday to try to resolve divisions within the 27-member bloc over whether to continue aid payments to Palestinians a day after the European Commission backtracked on an announcement suspending all such aids. The U-turn came after member states, including Spain and France, said they opposed the suspension announced by Neighbourhood and Enlargement Commissioner Oliver Varhelyi on Monday. A Commission spokesperson said on Tuesday that Varhelyi had not consulted his fellow commissioners, including Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The EU's disarray reflected long-standing divisions within the bloc over the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Now, as the fighting between Israel and Hamas entered its fourth day, the Zionist regime appears likely to stage a ground assault on Gaza, risking close-quarters fighting in densely populated areas. In a sign it may be planning a ground assault, the Israeli military said it had called up an unprecedented 300,000 reservists and was imposing a total blockade of the Gaza Strip. Israel's total siege of Gaza, cutting off all fuel, food and electricity, and warning to residents to evacuate, has further added to the talk that a ground invasion is imminent. It was reported that strikes will first target all of Hamas' command centers and troops, with fire coming from everywhere. Such urban fighting is expected to force combatants into hand-to-hand combat, reduce visibility, increase the risk of traps, blur boundaries between civilians and soldiers, and render armored vehicles next to useless. Following the Zionist regime's announcement, UN Secretary-General Volker Turk says he is deeply distressed by Israel's complete siege of the Gaza Strip, which will only worsen an already dire situation. In a statement, the human rights chief said Israel's move would deprive civilians of goods essential for survival, which is banned under international law. He also says this latest fighting did not arise from a vacuum, but from a decades-long occupation with no end in sight, and urged for all sides to defuse the explosive powder keg situation. After this breather, children among 29 killed in an artillery strike. Stay tuned. onto the foreign front. An artillery strike that hit a refugee camp near Myanmar's border with China has killed at least 29 people, including women and children, in one of the deadliest attacks on civilians since the return of military rule. According to sources, the attack hit a camp for internally displaced people about 5 kilometers from a base in the border town of Liza, run by the Kachin Independence Army, which has been in conflict for years with Myanmar's military. Kachin officials believe that at least 11 children are among those killed, while 55 others were injured in the latest attack, 44 of whom had been taken to hospital for treatment. The exiled National Unity Government (NUG) has blamed the junta for the attack on the camp, but a junta spokesman denied that the military was behind the attack. The incident was the deadliest since an airstrike in Myanmar's volatile Sagaing region in April that killed scores of people, including civilians. Over in Thailand, as many as 16,455 families in 9 provinces in the north and northeast of the country have been affected by floodings on Tuesday. According to officials, the provinces affected are Sukhothai, Phitsanulok and Uttaradit in the north, and Nong Bua Lampu, Mahasarakam, Ubon Ratchathani and Kalasin in the northeast. The floods are also affecting over 169,000 acres of farmland in 19 provinces, including Chiang Rai, Lopburi, Ayutthaya and Ubon Ratchathani. In the meantime, authorities will continue to monitor the situation as more rains are expected to hit Thailand due to the influence of a depression near the southern China coast. It also warned that several provinces in the country may be hit by flash floods in the next 3 days. Humber sends world number 6 packing for home. Sports when we return. Sports tennis, the 2023 Shanghai Masters. Ugo Humber pulled off a major shock against world number 6 Stefanos Tsitsipas in their second match. 25-year-old Ahmad won the first set 6-4 before the Greek fought back in the second set to take it 6-3. Ahmad, however, regrouped to claim the final set 7-5 and reach the round of 16, where he will face J.J. Wolf of the United States. Earlier, Wolf came back from one set down to win against Matteo Arnaldi in the round of 32 matchup. The Italian won the first set 6-2, but Wolf returned the favour in the second and third sets, winning it 6-3, 7-4 to complete his comeback victory and secure a last 16 spot. Joining them was Fabian Marozsan. The world number 91 caused a big upset, beating 8 seed Casper Ruud 7-6, 3-6, 6-4 in an intriguing fourth round encounter. With his win, the 24-year-old set a clash with either 16 seed Hubert Hurkacz or home favourite Zhang Zhizhen in his maiden Masters 1000 quarter-final. And turning to football now, former Chelsea star Eden Hazard has announced his retirement from professional football after leaving Real Madrid over the summer. Hazard had been hampered by injuries since his 2019 transfer from Chelsea to Real Madrid, where he sadly struggled to live up to expectations because of those issues. As a result, they terminated his contract a year ahead of schedule in the summer. Various clubs were linked with Hazard on a free transfer, but he has ultimately had to call time on his playing career at the age of just 32. Hazard was named in the PFA Premier League Team of the Year on 4 occasions, the same number of times he was Chelsea's Player of the Year, and was even named the competition's Player of the Season outright in 2014-2015. In 2018 and 2019, he was consecutively named in the 5th Pro Men's World 11. At international level, he became Belgium's 4th most capped player of all time and 2nd highest goal scorer, with tallies of 126 and 33 respectively. When we return, 4 men charged over murder of elderly men. Welcome back. Now, earlier this year, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim ruled out the possibility of reintroducing the Goods and Services Tax, or GST, this year. With 2024 budget around the corner, does the government have other options to boost its coffers? FMT's Danish Rajareza spoke to 2 economists for their ideas.
No one enjoys paying taxes, but they are vital to fund essential services and development. Of late, people have been talking about one tax in particular, the Goods and Services Tax, or GST. First introduced in 2015, the GST was replaced with the Sales and Services Tax, or SST, just 3 years later. Now there are calls for the GST's return to boost the government's ability to fund initiatives for the Rakyat. But there are concerns that it's simply not the right time to reintroduce the consumption tax. Even Anwar has signaled that subsidies must be better targeted first before the GST's return can be considered. So with the GST effectively ruled out for now, what can the government do to increase its revenue? Economist Barjoy Bardai believes Malaysia's existing single tax system for corporations needs to be reformed.
Under single tax basis, we tax the profit of the company, and then when the company distribute the profit to the shareholders, it is not taxed anymore.
In other words, it's time to tax share dividends, just like they do in the United States and Europe.
But in US, for example, there's double taxation. In Europe, there are double taxation, where when the shareholder get their dividend, they will again be taxed because it is an income.
For the record, the government has introduced a capital gains tax on unlisted shares. This will take effect in 2024 and could offer an additional boost to revenue. Regardless of new taxes or revenue streams, economist Yekim Leng says they must go hand in hand with good governance.
The major revenue increase will likely come from enhancing the administrative efficiency of the tax collection efforts. So that will help for 2023 revenue enhancement. Measures will have to be accompanied by efforts to increase spending efficiency, and also in terms of appropriate allocation to various spending needs that have a greater multiplying effect.
As Malaysia navigates its fiscal journey, striking the right balance between revenue generation and expenditure will be key. Danish Rajareza, FMT News.
In other news, 4 men were charged in the Baling Magistrates Court on Tuesday with the murder of an elderly man who was found strangled and with his hands and legs tied in Kuala Ketil, Kedah last week. All the accused allegedly murdered 71-year-old S. Kanan at his house in Taman Desa Bidara on October 1st. Sessions Court Judge Najwa Chitmat, who sat as the magistrate, fixed December 14th for mention of the case. In Selangor, a woman claimed trial in the Shah Alam Magistrates Court after she was charged with threatening her 27-year-old brother with a sword. 33-year-old Nur Nazatul Afida Zulkifli allegedly committed the offence at their house in Kampung Melayu Batu 13, Sungai Buloh. Magistrate Sasha Diana Sabtu granted 4,000 bail and set December 12th for mention of the case. Elsewhere in Terengganu, the Kuala Terengganu Sessions Court sentenced a man to 7 years in prison and 4 strokes of the cane for attempting to rob and causing injury to a woman at a self-service laundrette last month. Judge Nuriyah Osman imposed the sentence on 25-year-old Muhammad Faiz Razali after he pleaded guilty to committing the offence against the 31-year-old victim at the laundrette in Seberang Takir near Kuala Nerus on September 30th. The court ordered the jail term to begin from the date of his arrest on October 1st. This edition of Nightline. But before we go, let's take a look as a Ghanaian artist crushed, twists and sew together 2 million recycled bottle caps into colourful fabric mosaics, which aim to tell the story of the intertwined histories of Africa, Europe and the Americas at the London Tate Modern Art Gallery. I'm Muhammed. I'm Hamdan. Thanks for watching and be well, Malaysia.